have only had one challenge in your life, only one, and it is the challenge that has prevented you from being happy, successful, having all the money you want, having the love of your life, having the right career, having all of that. It is the one challenge that you have had that has kept you from all of those things, and that has been becoming yourself. That's all it is. It's becoming you. This is the big contradiction that we all have to resolve at some point in our lives. When we come into the world, we're given things to learn and believe. We go to churches and religions and all. We have all kinds of stuff that we get, and we're always told that we have the ability to get whatever we want. We can have all of it. And then we're sitting here now and we're thinking, wait a minute, I don't have all of that. That's what's going on. And then we're looking at the world and we're thinking, that's what's wrong. That's why I don't have it. That's what's caused all of this. It's been the last few years of the pandemic. That's why it's a mess. No, it's never it. It is because you are not becoming yourself. And I can talk about this because that was me. That's why I do the work that I do. I've coached, I've taught since 1979. I've worked with thousands of people. And so I've seen this pattern, and I've seen it within me. We move to a place in our lives and then we kind of get stuck because we're afraid of going to the next place. And a lot of people are going through that right now. They're experiencing that right now, this fear and this uncertainty, except I don't have that because I've done the work. Now, let me explain all of that. This has been a really challenging time for me because I had to step out of myself, which is what a lot of you are going to have to do now as we're moving through this period, which my Wilhelm is called a restructuring. So we're going to be different. The world's not going to be what it was before, and you're not going to be what you were before. And so the way that we get everything that we want and answer the challenge is by becoming ourselves. That's all that it is. Let me take you back and a little bit. In 1988, I made one transition in my life, a big transition, and I always get moved. I've done this my entire life. I've done so many different careers, so you understand this. But this time, I knew that I was supposed to do something else. I had this wonderful job, had given me lots of money. They wanted me to stay there. They even did an intervention when I said I was going to leave because I felt that I had to go and do this next thing. See, your goal, you always have a moving target as long as you're alive, meaning there's always more for you to accomplish or become or whatever it is. If you want to fulfill all of your potential, that's always going to be the case. Doesn't matter how old you are, it is always there. But sometimes we don't trust it. We hold back for whatever reason. I've seen it so much. When I did the program back in December, I could see people did great work. And then at the end of it, they were like, now what do I do? They were just kind of lost. And that was kind of my fault because I didn't have it going. However, that's because I wasn't answering the challenge. That's what it was. I wasn't answering the challenge of my life, which was to own what I have. And that becomes challenging for many of us, and I'll tell you why. So I went back and I thought, let me start with getting rid of my own doubt. It's pretty much gone now. But anyway, that's why I planned the workshop, the Masterclass, Fear and Doubt, because I want you to know how you can move through that. Anyhow, so I said, let me go and look and see what was said about challenge during Your Life Operating, when I received Your Life Operating Instructions back in 2012. See, because that's the stuff we don't believe. We don't think that we were given something to really complete or accomplish or do in our lives. Couldn't be us. Yeah, it is. It's always us. And that's what I mean, becoming yourself. But we get afraid and we won't move there. And I've done it so much, so that's why I can talk about it. Except now I know that this is real and this works. So it's everybody's choice what they're going to do with it. But I went back and I looked for challenge, and this is because they said the information that I had, that I was given, was to help all of us move through this transition. We're going through a transition. I know people maybe not looking around and seeing what's happening, but I've talked about this for more than 2 years. I've received the information. Even when I mentioned what came through in one of the writings was about a Hitler type person showing up that may cause us to move. And that's what's going on in our world right now. But when I went back to look at this, let me read this. This was in September 9th of 2012. And faith is being able to discover or experience something that you would initially label to be a problem or challenge, while knowing at the same time there is benefit and value for you in the experience itself. That is always the case. Whatever we're experiencing, we have a choice of how we're going to choose to think about it, how we're going to interpret it, how we're going to perceive it. We only live in our consciousness. So if we're freaked out, that means we've taken our brains and we've gone into some other place that's causing us to be really upset. We always have that choice. We have that control, but we don't always develop that. Now, let me go on. Okay. This is the essence of all physical life experience, including your personal experience and your world at large. That was the important part, because they knew we would be moving through this period in our world. This concept is the duality that exists in all things physical. Duality, meaning that we'll look at something and we can make a decision that this is good or this is bad. And that choice is always ours. And sometimes when we've programmed ourselves into thinking everything's going wrong for us, we always make the choice that things are going wrong. And so we look at the world and we will believe the same thing as well. Then, when you are able to live in that faith, you do not experience worry, fear, and anxiety. Now, you have to understand, I didn't know this when I first received this in 2012. I know it now. And that's the difference. And I'll explain that. Okay. The duality itself exists because you also possess a free will of choice. That contrast then is necessary for you to have the ability to choose. When you choose faith, you always choose your inner peace. And that is what has happened. When I went back and started putting this information together, looking at it, it just kind of freaked me out, because I don't know. I kept questioning, why didn't I know this? Why couldn't I accept it? And the fact is, none of us do. We come in and we start to develop things. Things are implanted within us. We come in with them, and then they start to show up as we have experiences, as we move through the experiences of the world, which is precisely what went on for me. I mean, just exactly. If you remember, when the pandemic started, I knew what was going on, didn't know why, and I kept acting in that way, and I couldn't accept it. But this is what my clients do as well. So it's easier for me to see it in you, of course, because I can look at someone and see what you're holding back. I can see what you're afraid of. I can see what you're doubting. And I always do. What I do is give you confirmation, because I can sense it. I can intuitively feel it and guide you there. I tell you about your probable realities. And I say that because we all have them. We just may not choose to act on them. I couldn't do that for the longest time, because see, what I did was weird. And I knew that I was going to receive some sort of judgment, and that's the thing that holds you back, is that fear of what other people are thinking or going to say about you, and it keeps you stuck. It keeps us in this self-imposed prison. The message that came out this morning from Wilhelm and the advice for today was all struggle is self-imposed. It is, because we don't have to struggle. We have everything if we would get out of the way and just allow that to happen. But acceptance is difficult. That's why through all of my channelings, all my messages, it kept saying self-acceptance is the most important thing. And what is happening in the world now is we're having a separation. We've done it before throughout civilizations, and we're choosing where we want to go, where we want our lives to go. And the choice that we make affects the collective, and that will be the type of world that we will create. I want to see a world that is inclusive, where people are feeling empowered, they know who they are, they're loving one another, they're loving themselves the most, because that's the most valuable energy we could put into the world. And so I'm going to work with those folks, because it's a wonderful place to be. And I can't convince people to take this journey, but I just know I have to do it on my own. But let me tell you what's going on for you, because it doesn't. Whatever you do during this period, I will tell you what's going to come up. You're going to have to make some choice about who you are, because you're going to see things happening in the world that's going to cause you to become a little upset, uneasy, uncertain. But if you've grounded in your work of doing what's working for you, you're going to have a completely different experience. And this is the thing I always try to explain to people. They look at me and go, why aren't you freaked out by what's happening everywhere and all these? I don't see it that way. I see you as an integral, necessary, essential part of evolution. That's how I look at every client. I know that every person comes in with something that they have, and if they could only embrace it, that they would be happy, successful, and have everything they want. I know that because that's what I've lived. And we can only teach, as a coach, I can only talk about it, give you what I know. And so my deal is knowing that to do anything, this is why I came, when I first started with the life coaching, I told you it's empowerment, because you can't do the things that you feel you want to do until you first become empowered, start to believe in who you are. And that's the work. And now, the reason that this takes time is because you're working with your brain. That's all that it is. You're working with your mindset, and you have the ability to change it, but that takes commitment. It takes doing something. And my whole, as you know, my morning routine has been for years and years and years doing my meditation and writing and all of that. And that keeps me more grounded, keeps me more directed. But it also did not allow me to avoid all kinds of problems and difficulties, because as you might know, when I receive my information, I give it to you, and I have to go back and study it later, just as you do, because I'm just receiving it. And that's the part that I couldn't accept. There's something about you that is valuable, unique, and could cause you to be really, really happy and successful if you are only willing to embrace it. So my work is going to be going on to do that. Many of you know that I have my program. I'm changing it after tomorrow, after Monday. So I just wanted to give you that information. And so if your desire is to come into this place of owning who you are, feeling confident, comfortable, and less fearful, then you want to come into the program, and you might want to do it at this rate, because I'm going to change it. I'm setting it up on something new starting tomorrow, actually. So I'm going to, that's why it's going to be changing. And so I'll be changing all of this, because if you don't understand, there is a shift in the world happening, and it's wealth and income between, and this has gone on throughout civilizations as we change in society as well. However, we can affect better change in our world when we allow ourselves to become more prosperous, when we allow ourselves to have that abundance that's natural to anyone, when we allow ourselves to become who we were meant to be. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I will love to help anyone who wants to go on that journey. All right, guys, see you soon.